Okay, perfect.
Hey, Karen, thanks for taking out the time today and chatting with us.
Well, Peter, I always enjoy discussing real estate trends and market updates. And so I'm thrilled to be a part of your community today.
Well, thank you so much. I know we're all so busy. Before we get into it, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and a little bit of your background?
So I started out in dirt in Dallas, Texas in the early 80s. I worked for the developer Trammell Crow, bought land, put in streets and utilities, sold lots to home builders, and married my husband, had my children, and his career took us to the DC metro region. So I am in Northern Virginia, outside of Washington, DC, in McLean, and a similar price point as yours. I claim to fame, I actually lived in Orange County for a summer in college. So
Nice.
I realize the lifestyle there is different than the lifestyle inside the Beltway.
Yeah.
So I reentered the workforce back into commercial real estate after being primary caregiver for our kids, my husband's travel schedule, for about and that was in 2002. And
Okay.
I went to work for Nextel. The Roger Staubach had the account, and I was in charge of sales, engineering, warehouse offices. Well, that was also the year of the tech bust. And
Oh, yeah.
when there's a market correction, that's usually disposition is not where there's any money. So
Yeah.
someone said, well, why don't you try residential? And I actually had the perception, as many commercial people do, that the residential people did all the soft skills, with the emotional component. And but I found that I have skills on both sides, the soft of the connection with people and helping them make decisions, buying and selling, and the hard skills of negotiation, strategy, market knowledge. And that combination led to success pretty rapidly. So that was 20 years ago. Along the way, became partners with a mega agent. At the time, that was really a very unusual thing.
Yeah.
Now everybody has mega agents, but
Yeah.
at the time she was number 10 in the nation.
Okay.
And so I joined her, and then she passed away in '08. So I took over the business. And '08 happened to be the year of the major market crash,
Yeah.
financial markets, real estate markets. And it was a very challenging time to be in real estate. I had muscle memory from the '80s in Texas during the savings and loan crisis. So I set about first surviving and
Yeah.
then rebuilding the business. And my current business partner, Lizzie Conroy, and joined me in '09. So we've been together, and we run a team, a mega team. So in 2021, our production was 116 million, and we have a high price point of about average sales price of about 1.1 million. So we did about 100 deals, and the uh, along the way, as often happens when you successful, people want to know how I did it. So I was
Yeah.
coaching and speaking and training, and that led to me writing my first book in 2016, Real
Okay.
Estate Success in 5 Minutes a Day. I now have three other books, and I have a podcast myself. The 5 Minute Success podcast has over 400 episodes. And so that has been my creative endeavors journey, which has taken me to places like being a guest on your podcast.
Yeah, yeah, no, that was huge. I mean, that's huge for you, especially. I was interested to get you on the podcast, especially because you have the background with real estate sales and everything. So for for you, I want to go back to like 2008, 2009, taking over the business and not really talk about the crash. I've had many a conversations with guests, and we can get into that, but the biggest thing for me was to talk about how that transition was for you, how you were able to, go and take over that team to be able to be, that type of producer to continue that success of the team, right? How was that?
I'd been a team member for a few years. Then in '06, we started the process of me becoming partner. So I began to meet with all the clients and the customers, and I was building relationships with them. the business was built predominantly on the upper brackets,
Okay.
and that was over 2 million in terms of the transaction, typical transaction. What happened was that market just dried up, and the method that we were predominantly using for marketing was luxury magazine type marketing, which also was not only was it very expensive, it was not actually leading to success. And
Yeah.
so made a lot of decisions about moving the market in terms of our primary clientele away from, I mean, over $1 million is still considered the luxury category, but in our
Yeah.
area, probably similar to yours, over a million, around $1 million is actually a land value for a lot of McLean. So moving it to the more affordable prices of $1 million instead
Yeah.
of $2 million, that was one of the strategic decisions. The other strategic decision was to join forces with my current business partner, Lizzie Conroy. I found pretty rapidly for me having someone to be in business with, I was more effective than when I was more of the Lone Ranger or the leading a team on my own. So that was another key strategy. Expense wise, getting the expenses in line with revenues. That was key to first the very beginning was the main thing on that. And the fact that she passed away was also extremely challenging and a unique aspect to the transition. We knew she was ill, so
Hmm.
that part wasn't a surprise, but the fact that we still thought that we had a few more years, so everything got accelerated in terms of making the transition.
Yeah. 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 What does your team look like today?
So I am still the mega agent for the
Okay.
team, although we are working to make that transition to Lizzie Conroy, who's my business partner. She and I demographically, she's the next generation. And in terms of passing this baton, I took it over from someone, a previous generation. So,
Yeah.
and she and I and one other agent are the primary rainmakers.
Okay.
And we have several showing assistants. We have staff of the marketing coordinator and a business development person and transaction coordinator. So we operate because we are in a high dollar area, volume area. We don't flip very many burgers. We just flip bigger burgers,
Okay.
more steaks.
Yeah.
We go
Yeah.
for richer meat, right? Deeper
Yeah.
meat.
More efficient, right?
Well, although I will share, and I'm sure you have ran into this too, being in a market that it's a very pricey housing. The buyers are very sophisticated because you don't get to, being able to qualify and afford or have the cash for, $2 million home without having, been around the block a few times.
Yeah.
So it can be very challenging clientele and it's very competitive. So as you can imagine, many people want to be in this arena. So the competition is fierce. It's tough everywhere, but it's more the higher it goes, the more competitive it is.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I agree with that. The competition, and then also the competition currently with people qualified for that price point. More people have more money down, so if you're representing buyers, it's a little bit more challenging, especially these days because you have less listings, and then ultimately you're trying to jump into the shuffle of maybe 6, 7, 10, 15 offers. So,
That's what I
um,
did this past weekend. I
oh
was I was fielding all that, and Lizzie was as well. So both sides is a very challenging arena. Now, uh, it has similar attributes to the last run up, and then there's some things that are unique to this market cycle. So there's always an opportunity to learn, grow, and become better than before. That's for sure, Peter.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, so with you guys, continuing the team and stuff like that, and then the transition, how hard is that? I mean, you went through one transition from, the old owner to you, and then now it's a transition from you to, a new owner. How are you guys setting that up for clients, especially ones that are repeat clients? Maybe they have a couple of investment properties in the same area. How easy is that conversation with them?
Well, when the transition happened from with Sue, there wasn't as long of a lead time. So there was
Yeah,
just a couple of years. And this time we have been preparing for this day for 13 years. So it's
yeah,
not like anybody's going to be surprised. She's been lead her face has been on the signs with me almost from the beginning, and I did that intentionally because I felt at some point we would reach that day, and
yeah.
I wanted to prepare because that is what didn't there wasn't enough preparation for me when I took over. And many of our client base, because our community of the majority of our clients are in McLean, we
Hmm.
both have been long-term residents. So most people know both of us in some level or degree. So it's not like they only know me or they only know her. So we and then we have client events. So that's an opportunity to
Yeah.
network on an informal level. I at this juncture, which is as it should be, Lizzie is passing me up on production, so she's building a bigger base to take over from as we start. Um, and I don't anticipate slowing down. I told her I was
Yeah.
like, I anticipate another decade to selling because I love it and I love servicing my our clients and but at the same time, the running of the team and the leadership and the vision. Uh, and I think the market will respond very favorably, honestly, because I think what happens is the senior uh, is often reticent to
Yeah.
step aside and allow or encourage new innovative thinking and marketing and strategies. And I think the market's going to recognize it as being proactive for the future casting. And so we're preparing for that day, but at the same time, it's been happening for so long. I think people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, okay, we always knew you were gonna do that."
Yeah. Where, Karen, for you guys, where do you guys do most your marketing? Is it mailers, and how are, I mean, you guys have been around for so long, and you're a household name, but outside of resting on those laurels, are there other things that you put into place to help you get your name out there?
We do have a very robust database, which
Yeah.
we constantly nurture with
Okay.
mailers, and then as our past clients, our you know super clients, we're frequently having events and ways to connect with them and touch them in a meaningful way. And we use, as many people do, the predictive analytic type of um, program to look for the times where we can be available and be there when people have a need for service. You can't always predict it, but oftentimes you can. And so we have found that to be beneficial. We're very involved in the community. Lizzie serves on a number of boards. We've had our charity that we created in 2012, so for a decade, and
Yeah.
been giving back to the community. And the other thing we do, which I think is really key, is that we refresh the brand every 5 years,
Okay.
staying relevant. And in terms of the presence in the community, I find that it creates a new way of looking at us. And even though we've been around a long time, everybody's like, "Oh, what are they doing now?" Kind of approach to real estate. So it's a both and, right? It's
Yeah.
being uh, connected to the the history of the team and the commitment to the community, but also being proactive and looking to the future on how we can best market and serve our clients so that um, we're there when they have the need, and also for the new people entering the market, we can be there too. But there is something to be said for having your sign everywhere
Oh,
too.
for sure. Yeah. 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 Well, for you guys, when the refresh you do every 5 years, is that new graphic for your team logo, onto the branding that you do for mailers? How does that kind of look? And then do you guys send out mailers after you guys like kind of rebrand, if you will, to let everybody in your database know?
Well, they'll see it as it happens. I find
Yeah.
that it's very we haven't been able to do like a complete unveil all at the same time. It seems
Okay.
like they they get um, exposed kind of more of a dripping approach. But we start with new photography of everybody. We've stayed with a similar color theme just because we want to make sure people still recognize us, because it's kind of like new Coke, right? I mean, you don't want to be too new and then have people go, "No, what'd you do?"
Yeah.
So, but yes, we do freshen up the logo, we freshen up our taglines, our marketing message. We For everything from print to social media to signs to all the graphics, and uh, something that we've done recently in the last year or so that is we're doing a lot more video.
Okay.
And we hired a production company. We're doing a campaign of we live here, we work here, we get back here,
Yeah.
and we're doing it community based,
Okay.
as opposed to actual house based, because it's has a longer shelf life. And then
Yeah.
whenever we have a listing in that community, then we can just roll right into our community
Yeah.
video afterwards. So that is something we've significantly upped our game on, is the video. When Lizzie took some acting classes, and so we and I've been doing some improv, and so we've been upping our game. And we get a lot of uh, comments about the the video being very relevant and yet at the same time engaging. So it's something that we're taking to the next level.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so bringing in, especially going from a lot of print production to bringing in the video, how have you guys like started drafting content for that?
The content, we is really on several fronts. One, content is community related, so we highlight the different benefits to why you love living in McLean, or why you would love living in Great Falls, or why you would love living in the different, areas of Northern Virginia. The other one is the house, the home, the property. We're highlighting, it's easy to highlight the obvious thing, but we're wanting to bring in the unique selling proposition of the property, and quickly and with a lot of movement, because I'm sure you've heard the attention span
Yeah.
is decreasing, and so you have to grab their attention, while at the same time draw them in so that they'll stay around long enough to actually see the property. So we are doing that now. I will say the majority of the seller clients are of the older generations,
Okay. Yeah.
and they are more print oriented. Um, and that is why the postcards still are very effective for seller. I Many people do postcards. We
Hmm.
have been pretty successful with the classic just listed, just sold. We'll then pop in and do neighborhood themed
Yeah.
postcard mailings. But there's just that time that the person has. Again, if you're thinking about somebody that's 60 plus going to their mailbox, they're still going to do that every day,
Yes.
and they're going to take the time to go through it, and that makes that impression. And I've gone on many appointment where they've sat there and had a stack of my postcards. um, so it really does work for that demographic. And then you have to think the people who move into those homes, at whatever their where they are in the life cycle of housing, they often still want somebody who is truly a neighborhood expert because they actually have sold the house or have sold homes in the neighborhood. So staying connected with them, even if we weren't the representative on the buy side. So that is the reasoning behind that and why I believe it still is very effective.
Hmm.
The video is to attract the other potential buyers, right? That are the moving around buyers. Although right now, as you mentioned, representing buyers is challenging um, in the current environment. And having listings attracts buyers, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's really, if you want to know
Yeah.
the the way to attract buyers is to have listings because that's what they want ultimately. But the people that might consider moving or buyers or sellers, oftentimes something in video will attract their attention. So you may, um, or you may just have more attraction to your listing, and that's one of the objectives of a listing agent too, right? I mean, we're there to uh, obtain the best outcome we can for our seller client.
Yeah. 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 What do you, for you guys in your area, what do you think works best, or what have you seen work best
For
for marketing?
marketing, the print, we've actually discontinued print ads.
Okay.
The we used to be big proponents of the local newspaper, the rag, but they got smaller and smaller and smaller. Like
Yeah.
there really wasn't any content left in there, and they went digital. Although I really can't, uh, I have no data to support that people will go digital on
Yeah.
a neighborhood print. So we discontinued that. We stay very involved in the community and, will contribute, although I'm still not convinced any of that actually generates business, but it does
Yeah.
generate a lot of goodwill. And, goodwill is a key component of people knowing, liking, and trusting.
Yeah.
And so that we do, but the majority of our marketing is the postcards, the signs, client events or community events. We ice cream truck on the last day of school and the cleanup days and those kind of things are a great way to just, it's the air cover of marketing.
Yeah.
It doesn't replace active lead generation of
For sure.
the active lead generation is more of what I was talking about, the predictive analytics. I mean, actually drilling down and talking with the database, our past clients and connecting with them in a
Yeah.
way that when they're ready to make a move, or they know someone who's ready to make a move, that you're the one they contact. In fact, that's actually when I was delayed on the call. It's exactly what I was talking to. It was a past client,
Okay.
uh, family member, the parents had passed,
Okay.
and I'd sold the daughter-in-law a house when her husband, and I sold their condo, and then I sold them a house. And so when the parents passed, that's who they called,
Mm,
right? So
yeah.
that is those connections are are priceless. They
Yeah.
really are. Um, they're the lifeblood of our business is the that we're so deeply connected to they don't even think of calling anybody else.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge, 100%. The Midas touch is huge, and being able to, help those clients. What's been like one of the hardest things, especially growing a team and being a part of a team and running a team yourself that you experienced?
Well, you pretty much said it right there. It's doing all three, right?
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity. It really is, and it's a privilege. And I feel honored that I was tapped and asked to be that person. And I've learned a lot
Mm,
because it's one thing to be successful yourself in sales, and that is a skill set that, if you think about it, what are the statistics for real estate agents? I think it's what, 90, 6% are gone in 5 years or
Yeah.
something. I mean, it's
Yeah, it's
a
like 94% or 96% are gone
yeah,
after 5 years. And then I think it's like the first year, after the first year, like 87% is a
right.
failure rate.
So we only have 7% make it another 4 years.
Yeah.
So success, yeah, on that front is obviously to be commended, and I um, am glad I in those rankings at 20 years. To go from that level and being able to coach, mentor, teach, train someone else to be successful, right? That is the next level.
Yeah.
And that is what I've been about, really pretty much my entire career, but concentrated when I wrote the book, A Real Estate Success in 5 Minutes a Day, Secrets of a Top Agent Revealed, and then my other books and my podcast, and then the speaking, coaching, and training. The That is the next level. And then the next level is to bring together multiple people who do that, right? I mean,
Hmm.
so you can have one hit wonder and then you can have a two-hit wonder, but can you create the systems, the leverage, the scale, the operations that go beyond just, only as good as your next deal
Yeah.
to actually creating a sustainable ongoing enterprise. So it really is a multifaceted, and often, as in happens in sales, people are good at sales, but they're not necessarily good at the other ones, right?
Yes.
uh, and you find out pretty quickly whether that's your skill set, your area, your arena that you're gonna play in. Um, and I find the fact that I'm still in production is beneficial for the team. Because I was out there in the arena this weekend negotiating two listings on behalf of my sellers, going through the whole multiple offers, the emotional roller coaster that they went through, and then representing a buyer. And because of that, I feel as though, or I believe what I found is that I am more in touch with reality because I'm still doing it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's easy to say, well, back in, 82, we did this. I mean,
Yeah.
but I did that this weekend, and I have a lot more uh, understanding of what it takes to be able to navigate. Every market has its opportunities and challenges, and the resilience and the skills you learn, the knowledge you gain along the way, I find is I'm in a better position to help other people do the same.
Yeah, no, that's huge. What are some lessons learned going through, oh 08, 9, 10, 11, excluding obviously, the unfortunate stuff that happened with your team, and then also stepping into the team, the challenges of, the downfall of the market and stuff like that. What were some things that you took away from there that now help you be an even better agent?
Well, I'm hearing quite a few people, they're concerned that we're peaking
Okay.
again. So I'm hearing that a lot.
Yeah.
So helping people recognize market cycles and how they behave, and what how best to navigate them.
Yeah.
No one knows for sure,
Yeah.
although
100%.
it does it and I was around the first rodeo, and I was around the market run up and corrections of the 80s and what happened in the 90s. And I have more experience in recessions than in rising markets, because there are more recessions than rising markets. The What I learned is that there's a buyer for everything, and I shouldn't judge, right? I mean, it's not
Yeah.
my decision to make, right?
Yeah.
And and my obligation to my seller is to present the property in its best light, and that's still the case today, and to navigate and negotiate the best outcome for their circumstance. Can't always. Um, Sometimes I'm just impacting their life by helping them move on, and sometimes, they're significantly improving their life, and like in the current market conditions of the sellers right now. So
Yeah.
recognizing that there's opportunity in all market cycles. I will say, in um, the biggest challenge in a correcting market is people's fear. And Warren Buffett, said that you should, you know, always do what the opposite of what everybody else is doing, right? Uh, so
Yes.
when everybody's fearful, then that's when you should be looking for the opportunities and buying, and when everybody's exuberant, whether it's irrational or not, that's when you should be looking for other opportunities. I feel like right at the current market that there's still a lot of room.
Okay. All right. That's good to hear.
And there's several reasons for this.
Yeah.
One is the and you've talked about this on one of the podcasts I listened to. The previous market run up was a lot of it generated out of lending that was right since Dodd-Frank has pretty much been corrected. We're not going to
Yeah.
have, I don't believe, that happen again. What happened in also was that many, as prices were rising, many
Hmm.
sellers entered the market and flooded the market. And supply got out of line with demand. And whenever supply and demand is like gravity, so whenever supply gets out of line of demand, then you're going to have a market either first, soften or flatten or correct. and
Yeah.
and the softening was actually for several years. I mean, here it started in about '05, the summer of '05, and
I've
was
heard about
flat,
that too. Yeah.
yeah, all the way to September of '08. So we
Yeah.
had several years of just flatness and softness.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a surprise. But the major crash really was due to the financial markets.
Yeah.
um
Sorry, just interject real quick. I'll let you keep
yeah.
going. Yeah. You're the third person that's told me that. I've probably talked to three people, including yourself, that said really they experienced where it was tapering off in '05. They saw something like the fall of '05, and one I work with quite a bit. He's an investor, and he said, yeah, I knew, or he didn't know, he didn't call it, but he said that there was a drastic change at the end of '05. And go ahead.
I felt it because we had so many listings and just the sentiment of the buyers just started to change. I mean,
Okay.
before they couldn't get there fast enough and how high could they go? And all of a sudden they were like pausing, voiding contracts. So that's an indicator. So if you start seeing that in your market, definitely if you start seeing supply being greater than demand, then you're going to start seeing a softening. The reason why this one, I don't believe we're anywhere near there yet is several reasons. One, for the majority of our market, the prices just have recently gotten back up to what peak was. So
Okay.
from '08 crash to
Yeah.
about 2020, so 12 years of recovery, particularly in the upper brackets. So price appreciation has really only occurred for about a year. And if you think about all those sellers who had no price appreciation for 12 years, it was about time the prices
Yeah.
started to go up. So I feel like that's a good thing. Now, always anything could be taken to the extreme, but I have this market cycle is different for several reasons, also demographically. So the baby boomers were the largest generation ever at about 74 million.
Hmm.
Um, every generation after that, until the millennials, were smaller. So we already had all the housing we needed per se, because most housing was built for the baby boomers. And then every decade after that for whatever housing was needed for that generation. And then the baby boomers birthed the largest generation, the millennials, 91 million.
Yep.
So even if they all double up, we're still short of housing, and they're reaching their peak housing years.
Yes.
They're they many of them delayed adulting because they could
Yeah.
until the pandemic, and then they're like, well, if I got to stay home any, I might as well get married and have a dog and have a kid and buy a house.
Yeah.
And so we were going to run out of housing anyhow, even without a pandemic.
Hmm.
And then I'm sure you know the construction start stats. They historically 25 million new housing starts, not infill, not tear down, rebuild, but new housing starts So about 2.5 million a year, 25 million a decade since the 70s.
Yep.
And since 2008, only 5.8 million were built. Well, that was because the developers lost options on the land, weren't
Yeah.
in a position to buy the land and then build the houses. And then now with supply chain and housing, construction costs and labor costs and land costs all rising, we were going to be short of housing anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for them to catch up, we may need to be doubling up, really.
Yeah.
And so this phenomenon could actually last a while because is the millennials enter. Oh, the other thing that's happening is the baby boomers, instead of right sizing, downsizing, they're buying a second home. So,
Yeah. It's true.
because they're like, with the pandemic, they're like, okay, now if everybody's coming, I need a place for them to be. Whereas before,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I'll travel, I'll do this. And I'm like, no, I'm not traveling. I want to have a place where everybody can come.
Yeah.
So they would normally be reaching their life cycle of housing where they would be starting to make that move down, and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a confluence of a number of, and these reasons why people are, the best way I can describe it is after 9/11, you will never go to an airport the same again,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, that's the way pandemics, uh, the pandemic will be remembered for housing and, well, a lot of things for our life and world. So I think that this will be something we'll look back on and go, that was the longest run. If you look at the baby boomer years, that was the most expansive economy, one of the most expansive economies the United States ever experienced.
Yeah.
All those babies being born mean
Yeah.
baby carriages and diapers and finishing houses and then preschool and then soccer and all of that is an expansive economy, right? It's
Yep.
growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's real
100%.
growth. It's real growth.
Yeah. Um, so what would you say? I'm starting a team today, and I'm a fairly, 5 years in the business. What advice would you give me?
Well, it's a who, not how,
Yep.
more than anything. That's a book by Dan Sullivan
Yeah, it's a
and
great book.
Dr. Benjamin Hardy, Who, Not
Yeah.
How.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to have him as a guest on my
Oh, nice.
podcast. Yeah, he's really a
Dan
smart
Sullivan.
guy. Um, Dr. Benjamin Hardy.
Oh, yeah.
So Ben is his actual
Yeah.
writer,
Mm-hmm.
and Dan has the ideas, and Ben writes them. So it's a who. It really is. It's a who. So who can you be in relationship with who will take your team to the next level? Because many people are looking for the logistics, and there are, certainly you can create leverage with systems and but you will go places faster with people
Yeah.
than you will. And so I would say look for the who, because the who may also be the person who will figure out the systems, and they will help you, uh, particularly if you're looking for talent in the areas that are, where you could, uh, your strengths, need assistance in.
Yeah.
Those are their weaknesses, because everybody has opportunities to improve and grow and become better than before. So that's one of the things I found, is that what I have in my team is the people who are bringing their best self, and that helps. Rising tide raises everybody's boat. So we all raise each other's game by each contributing what we're best at.
Yeah. No. Valid. Valid. Valid information, especially to give to someone, especially who, not how, and being able to leverage that person that's going to be the asset for the team to move the team forward. You got to have that visionary and the implementer, or the integrator, pardon me. So moving to the last few questions, Karen. One is, you mentioned one book right now, but is there a book that you've read in the past couple of years, or maybe the past few years, that's really helped you in business?
So Hal Elrod is the author of The Miracle Morning.
Yep.
And I've been honored that he has endorsed all my books. And I
Nice.
was very, very involved in his masterminds. And the idea of the starting your day, and it really was a game changer. Never really considered myself a morning person, but when I wrote a book that was designed to be real estate success in 5 minutes a day, designed to be read as a daily reader, and meeting Hal and the integration of the reading component in his morning routine of savers
Yeah.
really is what helped take me and my life and my business to the next level.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that's a good book. What about a tool like an online resource or an app that you use to make your business more efficient?
So when I discovered Venmo for
Okay.
I have investment properties, when I discovered Venmo, uh, b-
Life
before
changing.
doing it the old-fashioned way, the checks in the mail, and you can. There's so many now available, but at the time, it was a really innovative concept that
Yeah.
you could just transfer the money. So I highly recommend. Uh, now um, there's other resources, but when I discovered that, I'll remember I was on a cruise with my husband in Europe, and it was like the first of the month, and I was like moving that money over, and I was like, this is great. So that is something I if you have your investors out there, if they're not doing that, they should. And
Yeah.
then the idea of the predictive analytics has really been impactful. We use a program called Reevaluate,
Okay.
but there's a lot of them out there. It's integrated with our database. It just helps us know when somebody might be thinking about making a move,
Yeah.
um, and we can be there to service them at the right times in their life.
Perfect. Perfect. I agree. Venmo is huge. Cash App and also Zelle are ones that I use too. So they're all very nice to have. Karen, where can people find out more about you?
So for the real estate space, the company is HBC Group at Keller Williams. So
Okay.
if you Google that or my name, you'll find the social media as well as the website. And then for my books and my podcast, it's the number 5 Minute Success. And that's the name of the podcast.
Okay.
The books are all on Amazon. So there's Real Estate Success in 5 minutes a day. And then two 66-day challenge books, one called Commit to Get Leads and the other one called Consult to Sell. And then I have a heroine story book called Flip Time, Love Life. So those are all on Amazon, and you can reach out to me if you're interested in coaching, because I do take a few select clients for that.
Okay. Perfect. Awesome. I'll put all that stuff in the show notes too, so everybody can have that. So,
That would be great.
well, I appreciate it, Karen. Thank you so much for your time, and it was great to dive into your business and talk a little bit about what you're doing these days with running that big team that you have.
Well, and Peter, I appreciate the opportunity to be part of your community. The real estate trends and market updates is something that every agent and people that are interested in the real estate industry should be tuning into.
Yeah, no. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And we'll put everything in the show notes so everybody can check out your podcast too.